This is the Good Government Show.
So we stay in our lane and we focus on what cities do, and that allows the economy and the population around us to flourish. The kids can bike around. We've got an old main street. It is a very small town feel in the middle of a big city. The right answer is the one that works. You don't fall in love with your plan. Be immediately ready to change your plan and discard it is a sort of a really useful tool in governance. People, if they can stay involved and not just in election years, I mean, that is what makes local government go. The deepest secret about local politics, deepest secret of it, is that it's incredibly fun. It is just so much fun.
There's more than enough to do in his city, says the mayor of El Segundo, California. For him, that means he really is laser focused on the issues of his city and not worrying too much about problems in neighboring cities or taking on problems best handled by state or federal government. Welcome to the Good Government Show. I'm Dave Martin. First, help us share the message of good government by liking us and sharing us where we are on all your favorite social media. Make sure to review us and send our show everywhere. We all need to talk about good government. Chris Pimentel is the mayor of El Segundo, California. If you've ever flown into Los Angeles, you've been to El Segundo. It's about a 5-mile square city tucked into a corner of Los Angeles. But as you'll hear, there's a lot going on. It's the home of the LA Chargers, the Kings hockey team, and the Lakers. And those are just some of the notable businesses that have set up their headquarters in his city. As you'll hear, Chris is an ex-Marine, which I'm sure gives him the self-discipline he needs to stay focused on his job. And to him, his mission is clear. Just focus on El Segundo. So he may not be a long snapper for the LA Chargers, and you'll hear more about that, but he has a good idea of how he wants to be mayor of his city. Coming up, El Segundo Mayor Chris Pimentel. We have a new partner here on the Good Government Show, HelloNation. This is a new digital magazine that showcases the best of cities across the nation. We'd all prefer if good news traveled faster. At HelloNation, positive stories don't just get told, they get amplified. HelloNation helps businesses, leaders, and communities share positive stories that matter, building trust, credibility, and meaningful connection. Through professionally produced podcasts, digital features, and targeted distribution, HelloNation positions you as the answer regular folks are looking for, while expanding and scaling your digital footprint across the platforms that people trust. Good news deserves momentum. Your city or your business can help spread the word of good news across the nation. At HelloNation, they don't just have advertisers, they have advertisers. Editorial content from trusted community leaders and cities that are helping spread the good news. Let HelloNation lift you up and lead the conversation. Visit HelloNation.com to learn more. Once you wrap up this episode of the Good Government Show, give a listen to our friends over at Good News for Lefties. This daily podcast highlights news stories that show there's more good news out there. Other people in government are really trying to do the right thing. That's Good News for Lefties. Listen where you're listening now. Welcome to the Good Government Show. I'm happy to have with me my guest from El Segundo, California, the Mayor, Chris Pimentel.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
Happy to have you. El Segundo, California. Been there several times, both on my way into and out of Los Angeles and down to the beach. How are things in El Segundo?
We are great and we are booming at the moment. It is the fastest growing economy in California.
El Segundo.
Yes.
What drives the economy in El Segundo?
So innovation, what we call deep tech and hard tech. So instead of people who are building software, if you are innovating and creating things, tangible things, principally in the hard sciences, that's what we do.
And how is the city of El Segundo helping that along?
I think probably our main guidepost is we're ruthlessly disciplined on our level of governance. We do not step outside into big social issues, federal issues. We stay focused on allowing innovators to come in with a predictable, transparent tax system and creating a flexible zoning process that allows them to get the sort of physical plant operation they need in a timely manner. Our permitting process takes about 21 days.
And you said you are ruthlessly.
Ruthlessly. We are ruthlessly disciplined. As any elected officials with the city council level, the mayoral level, or staff level, it's very easy in a place like Los Angeles County to get pulled into issues that are outside the purview of a city. And that's a complete distraction, and it leads to really bad, inefficient governance. So we stay in our lane, and we focus on what cities do, and that allows the economy and the population around us to flourish.
Is that hard to do?
It is really, really, really hard to do. We are human beings.
Why is it so
with
hard?
Emotions and passions, and we read and you see the news and things like that. But making sure that we irrigate to the state legislature what they need to do, to our federal officials what they need to do, and we're vocal with them. But we make sure city business stays city business, and we're very disciplined, and that pays off.
There's a lot going on, which is outside of your purview in Los Angeles County. How is it affecting the citizens and what you're doing as mayor in your city?
I think a big part of leadership is to communicate with people about how it impacts them and what you're doing, to get a sense that they understand you have what we are working on under control. But there's a lot going on in El Segundo. I mean, we have $24 billion of economic activity in the last 5 years.
That's
a
lot.
We have an oil refinery. We have 3 major sports teams. We have all the defense primes, and we have all of your satellites for the U.S. government are purchased through El Segundo. I mean, there's a lot going on to begin with, let alone getting caught up in what happens in the city of LA or in the region.
What are the 3 major sports teams you have?
So we have the Lakers, Kings, and Chargers are all based in El Segundo. So LA Lakers, LA Chargers, and the hockey team, the LA Kings.
And are there offices there? Or
office, practice facility, the entire piece.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all of it. So we have a big 3-sheet ice rink where the Kings and the Junior Kings play. We have the Lakers home facility, which is also home to UCLA Sports Medicine. And then the Chargers moved in just a few years ago with a giant $150 million facility with 3 practice fields. It's great.
That's all there.
It's all there.
And
all under the most important 5.5 square miles of economic activity in Southern California.
And so which team are you a supporter of?
Well, you have to be a supporter of all of them, right?
I guess
like California typically is people
Rams,
come
Chargers,
from all over.
Rams, Chargers.
Yeah, we got to be the Chargers. I mean, they are great corporate citizens. The Spanos family coming up from San Diego has been absolutely wonderful to work with. They are incredibly inclusive of the community. They immediately adopted all of our Pop Warner and flag football teams. I mean, they've been great. They've been absolutely great.
Wow.
And the Kings are a long time. The Kings have been here for 20 years. They're just wonderful as well. We have a large hockey playing populace, which is sort of.
I did a little research and I saw you at a groundbreaking for a new hockey arena.
For our roller hockey rink, and that's all sponsored by the Kings. And the Lakers, the Bus family, have been wonderful for a number of years. Obviously, they've just sold that team, so there'll be some turnover there. But they've been wonderful.
And all this in El Segundo. Describe El Segundo for people who don't know.
If you land in Los Angeles, you fly directly toward the beach, right? And you see the ocean.
Correct.
If you look to your left on the beach, that's El Segundo.
All right.
So we are tucked between a Chevron oil refinery that, as Standard Oil, is what founded the city. We have an Air Force base to the east, LAX airport to the north, and we're tucked into that enclave, sort of a little bit isolated in a 5.5 square mile grid.
And there's a part of El Segundo that is just absolutely what you think of when you think of beautiful LA.
That's right.
It's a residential community. It's got the whole palm tree thing, the beach, the water.
Palm tree, very Mayberry feel to it. Because we are isolated a bit, it makes it easy for people to leave their doors unlocked. The kids can bike around. We've got an old main street. It is a very small town feel in the middle of a big city.
One of the things I have learned at this conference, we're here talking at the Conference of Mayors, I attended a conference, a breakout session on trees. And I have learned recently that the palm trees in Los Angeles, first of all, are not trees and need to be replaced. What are you doing about this, and how are you dealing with this
I will tell
apparently
you
huge problem?
The palm tree is a scourge because it is a grass, as anyone figures out when they try and cut one down.
Okay.
It's enormously painful to cut down, and the roots are a giant ball of grass roots. We have not had as big an intrusion problem with them. They sort of dot the city. We, about 40 years ago, put in tons of ficus, which added a lot of shade.
Okay.
But ficus is a horrible tree to put in because its roots, just as much as it adds a ton of shade on the top cover, underground, it goes laterally as well and destroys your sewage pipes and your sidewalks. So we are one of the cities in the midst of a giant sort of retreeing, but with specific kinds of native trees whose roots will go straight down and not destroy sidewalks. In California, I can go on for hours about the number of lawsuits you face for the unbalanced sidewalks.
Have you stopped by the American Forest at Desk?
I have ruined their entire trip. I think they wanted to talk to a lot of people and not just me.
Right.
But I've got the entire piece. We have like a lot of things particularly with interest issues like trees. They're typically run by a nonprofit or a volunteer organization.
Okay.
And for us, we had a very strong one for a long time, but those also tend to have very poor succession planning. So all of a sudden your nonprofit can age out, and during COVID, our beloved Tree Musketeers shut down. So the city has been seeking to restock its arboreal involvement groups.
All right. You said you were vice mayor before, and
Yep.
you're mayor now. This is your second year?
Yeah.
Second year as mayor. What does good government look like in El Segundo?
I mean, honestly, I really bang the table for municipalities like ours to stay focused on their local community and adding clarity and efficiency. It is just so easy to be distracted by the sort of the political whims around you.
Yeah.
And that can really, it polarizes communities. It's inefficient. It gets people hung up on things that don't, I mean, they matter in a grand scale, but at a city level where we are pensions, power lines, pavement, all of those kinds of things, it makes it really difficult to do if you're continually litigating feelings.
How do you explain that to people when they come up and they want to complain about something and it's just not a city problem? How do you deal with that as mayor?
Well, I think part of it, we engage at all levels, even in the schools, with civic education. And make sure people know who their different legislators are.
Okay.
Make sure that where their assembly person is. Make sure that they understand here's what the county does. Here's what the city does. We really focus on civic educate, like classic civics.
Okay.
And then when someone comes up on the dais for public comment and reads you the Riot Act about something, we'll take a moment. Okay, here's the process for that. Here's how this will wend through the district court. Here's how this was played out in the legislature, and put some of that there. And frankly, we bore people quite a bit. I mean, it's really boring stuff.
I don't think you bore anyone.
Oh, we bore them to death. But it's also part of it is understanding, like, here's what we control and here's what we do not. And here are the ways that you can address those things.
How does that go over there?
I think at first, we really put it off. People can feel like they're being sort of shuffled along.
Right.
But then when you say, no, we're also fortunate that
that's exactly the problem.
Our state Senate office is in El Segundo. So he's right there.
But they come to a city council meeting and they go, I want you to do this. Well, that's not my problem. Well, yes, it is. Well, that's why I'm here.
Different.
Now, how do you
make sure it is your problem?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very much your problem, but you don't always own the solution.
Okay.
So you can tell people, like, yes, this is our problem.
Yes.
Here is what we are doing on the solution, and here's what you can do to look for a solution, and here's the person or group that owns the solution. So it's very different from telling people it's not your problem. It is our problem in a very real sense. It's our problem.
Thank you for the correction, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. And does that go over well?
I think as long as people understand that what your intentions are, right, and they have faith, and we've demonstrated our ability and willingness to go to bat in those things, they trust you.
And are you out of the community? Are you?
Oh, in El Segundo, you have to be.
I guess so.
I mean, yeah, you can. I was sitting there at a adult softball game, and I started getting into ear from the umpire. The umpire's asking,
It's supposed to be the other way around.
That's right. Yeah, the umpire's in my ear about a zoning decision. It's great. I mean, but that's part of local governance.
All right. And we talked briefly about my favorite bar, which I thought was in El Segundo. It is at the Shack, at Beachfront.
The beloved Shack.
The beloved Shack. And so when you go there, just over the border, does somebody invariably come up and go, Mr. Mayor, glad you're here?
No. I mean, that's the advantage of this. As you probably recall, the Shack, there's very little talking. It's how do you want your burger? And you can sit down, and I think it's a Chatham House, I think, of West Los Angeles.
This is the Shack is a beachfront bar that is the quintessential Hollywood central casting beachfront bar.
That's right.
Just over the line, just outside of El Segundo. So good government. What have you been able to get done, and that shows that things are working well there?
I think the super predictable taxation, right? People can do their business license online. It takes about 10 minutes every January. It makes it very easy on businesses. Our zoning processes and our permitting process are very clear. They're very transparent. And we have an ethos within those departments that's really responsive. So you can come in to our planning instead of it being a shell game of, well, I think I'd like to do this, but you can just ask them, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. And they will look to you and say, well, here's the way you can do it, and not instead of here's why you cannot. And that gets things done very, very quickly.
That does sound like we're streamlining the process. Well, we're going to get to your real thoughts on government in just a moment. The Good Government Show is sponsored by Our. That's OUR for Our Community. Get involved. We hear that all the time from government leaders. Our co-brands with your government's name and logo. Your staff and the people you serve are connected and part of your community. From any device, your members provide reliable data and meaningful feedback. Ask a question like, do we want more parkland or better homeless services? More engaged conversations come through the Our app. Visit Ourco, that's OURCO.com, and book a demonstration. After you get done with this episode, hear more good government stories with our friends at How to Really Run a City. Former mayors Kasim Reed of Atlanta and Michael Nutter of Philadelphia, and their co-host, journalist and author Larry Platt, talk with guests and other mayors about how to really get stuff done in cities around the nation. Check them out where you're listening now or through their nonprofit news site, thephiladelphiacitizen.org/podcasts. So we have the Good Government Show questionnaire. This is something I ask government leaders across the nation, and we're going to find out what you really think of government. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I should say, for the people watching at home, I have not seen these questions before.
You have not seen these questions before? I have them printed out in front of me, and you're trying to look.
If there's a train going down the track, and I can say person I know or 100 people I don't know, what do I do?
There's no math involved.
Good.
There's no math involved.
Be no math.
Define good government. What is it?
Responsive and predictable. I mean, if you are responsive to people and you are predictable and give them something that they can base off of, so instead of them having to feel like they have to litigate their opinion with a government that's there to serve them, you give them predictable government and responsive. I mean, that is really the secret sauce.
If people think you're doing a terrible job and you're the worst mayor ever, what should they do?
Don't vote for me. I mean, believe me, I have people tell me that all the time. Fortunately, the process has been made simple by the Athenians. Just vote me out.
But in the meantime, what can they do between every 4 years?
Look, I think that is when people give you feedback, right, and give you tangible feedback, that's super helpful, right? Because we're human beings too. You can make mistakes and you try to predict the second and third order effect of a decision, but the proverbial unknowable unknowns are out there. So if we put something out there, I will give you a classic local government nightmare example.
Go ahead.
Parking permit zones, right?
Yep. Parking is always a problem.
Parking is always a problem, and people want permits for an externality. Let's say a shopping mall comes in, or in our case, like a WeWork, where you have a bunch of people suddenly flooding an area with cars. So you set up a permit zone. All that does is and predictably, you understand it's a game of whack-a-mole. You're immediately pushing the problem to the people next door.
Right.
But what you don't always understand are who needs a specific parking spot because they're handicapped but don't have a handicap tag, or they've parked in that same spot for 40 years with their dad's classic car, or all these sort of unknowable unknowns.
Yes.
So people come back and give you tangible, hey, here is a problem and here is why. And ideally they give you, here is a solution I think might work. That's a lot easier to deal with than, you're an idiot, I hate your parking zone, why would you have done this? Haven't you ever read a book on this before? It's just a disaster.
So come with a problem as a solution and we can talk.
You don't have to come with a solution. It's helpful, but if it's tangible, and something conceptualize, right, and not merely indignation, which is really difficult to work with.
How do you deal with social media?
What we've done, and this is a really difficult piece because of the way that California law works, is we've sort of thrown a little, not quite caution to the wind, but we fully engage our city manager's office to monitor social media and websites we know that residents use. So we try to crush the rumors quickly and engage with things, particularly in moments like we have now, where people are concerned about, is the federal government showing up in our city? And we can remind people on there, like, hey, here's how state law governs the use of our police in these regards, and here's the resources that we have as a city. And you just try to get ahead of rumors and things that start to spiral on social media. What you don't do is get involved in back and forth. You can't start trying to argue with people on social media. We make declarative statements and then get out. But we do monitor, so we know what the intent is, what is out there in the sort of the zeitgeist.
Has any of it helped? I mean, has any of that feedback from social media made a difference?
It absolutely has. It absolutely has. I will say that in my previous terms, you would get a lot more negative feedback off things that had sort of spiraled out of control on social media or nasty emails or notes. And, knock on wood, but I could count the nasty grams I've gotten this year probably on two hands. I mean,
wow.
So
they're loving you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're loving me. They might be just writing it. So there could be a website I don't know about. There's actually an entire website dedicated to how terrible I am.
I hate the bear.
I hate the bear. I just don't know it exists yet. They haven't shown me the password.
Good.
But that part of being out in front and really telling people, like, here are the facts as we know them, and here's the decisions we made and why, has been very helpful.
Prior to being vice mayor and mayor, what's your background? What were you doing?
I was a Marine infantry officer.
A Marine infantry officer?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Where those people let you know if you're doing a bad job very quickly. 40 guys sitting around staring at you. Like, oh, gosh.
Do you sometimes have to switch off the Marine when you're responding to people?
One thing that's fascinating about the Marine Corps, outside of what you would see in sort of a movie, is that it is exclusively focused on problem solving. At the infantry officer, the tactical problem level, it is problem solving. And the sort of the ethos is the right answer is the one that works. So there's all these sort of kitschy things we say, like, you don't fall in love with your plan. Like, I love that one. You don't fall in love with your plan. Be immediately ready to change your plan and discard it is a sort of a really useful tool in governance. Because I can come up with something, be like, hey, I think this will work. And then when someone shows up and says, here's why it doesn't, hey, don't fall in love with it. Don't invest your ego in your idea.
In Hollywood, they say, kill your babies.
Yeah.
Same idea.
Yeah. I would stay away from that one.
Well, they're talking about writing.
Yes.
About writing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
No, don't. That's a great thing. Yeah. That's a great way to look at it. So, what drew you? I mean, obviously Marine Corps, but what drew you to public service?
For us, we were having a debt crisis we had kicked down the road on unfunded pensions. So between retirement benefits and medical benefits, we were closing in on $500 million of unfunded obligation that would have really started to hit on our table at about 2028, 2029. So we would have spent about 40 cents out of every dollar just on pensions out of our general fund. And that was something that I could not believe when I moved to town.
Yeah.
And then having researched it, I said, we have to have some moral courage to solve this problem. Otherwise, the city will look very different in 2030. And that was a 6-year project that the city council and the city staff took on, along with our labor groups. And we put together sort of a multi-step plan to build out a qualification for a bond. And then when rates were cut during COVID, we were able to bond out that pension obligation at about 2.5%. So saved us about $96 million. And we have a very predictable load till 2038. We spend $9 million a year on those pensions, but then we're free.
So you were a city council before you became...
That's right.
Vice Mayor and Mayor?
That's right.
Okay. Well, what drew you to public service? What inspired you to get involved?
Well, I think you have a personality type that's sort of a meddler, right? I mean, that's why I joined the Marines, right? The Marines were out there if you remember from the 90s, right? The Marines were the only ones you'd see on TV in places doing things. The first people in Somalia, all those sorts of things.
Right.
So there's naturally, I think, an impulse to get involved and help. And then I was just stewing around about the pension piece. I couldn't get my brain right. How can a city of 17,000 people, residents, but about 75,000 come to work every day. But how can a city that size owe effectively $65,000 per every man, woman, and child in unfunded debt? I just couldn't get my head around it. So after marching around and yelling at the wind about it, just, hey, if you think you could solve it, go solve it.
So basically, it boils down to, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And the next thing you know, you find yourself on city council. Yeah,
instead of leaning out a window yelling at, just sort of wringing my hands, I think, more than anything.
But. All right. Well, who inspires you?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tricky one. Well, I think that I always get inspired by one of my favorite presidents.
There's still no math, though.
Yeah, there's no math. Like, look, H.W. Bush, right? I mean, that was a guy who I think just had a life of service. He was really good at it. And there were externalities around him that didn't lead to him being reelected. But there's someone who sort of led with moderation in his head and his heart. And that's something that I remember, and maybe we all sort of lionize presidents of our youth. I just remember looking at him and thinking, God, this guy is a really sensational leader through his entire life.
And a Navy pilot?
A naval aviator, congressman. He hit sort of every level of governance. And, and then shepherded us through the crisis that was the end of the Cold War and shepherded through effectively. And I think I sort of wistfully wonder if he'd been reelected, how things might have been different, or maybe not. I don't know. The great what ifs of history.
Certainly.
We may never have balanced our budget, but.
Did you always see yourself going into public service?
No. I wanted to play for the Cowboys. it turns out that wasn't going to happen.
When did you realize you were going to be a Cowboy?
About last week, I think I finally gave up. All right. Just been moving myself down. I was trying long snapping last week. I think there's got to be a spot for me.
Nope. Well, listen. You're the mayor. The Chargers are in town.
The Chargers are in town. The Chargers. They might have something. Coach Harbaugh. What do you need?
What do you need?
Third down. I can catch.
Will they at least let you stand on the sideline?
Probably not.
Yeah, sorry.
I would add too much useful information.
Were you politically motivated as a kid? Did you want to be president other than a linebacker for the Cowboys?
No, I was always interested in my dad had been in the military, so we moved around quite a bit, and he was in the strategic air command for the Air Force, so it's sort of a higher view of I guess the geopolitics of it, and so I had a view to it, and I always found it interesting, but it wasn't, I wasn't the valedictorian student class president.
So your dad was in the Army?
He was in the Air Force. He's B-52 pilot, or B-52 navigator.
And how did he take to you being a Marine, not Air Force?
Well, oddly, he doesn't love flying, which is a sort of funny tidbit.
I thought that's why you did that, is because you love to fly.
And I told him, that I don't care for flying either. But he thought there were probably better things that I could have done with my efforts.
All right. Well, the Marines is certainly a fine place to serve. So you've been on city council, you've been a vice mayor, now you're a mayor. What would you like people to know about government and how it works, especially in El Segundo?
I think that people, if they can stay involved and not just in election years, that is what makes local government go. Right, we have tons of volunteers, tons in El Segundo. We're very fortunate with it, and savvy and civically who understand what our legal abilities are, what the constraints are, but also what our powers are as well. So if people can stay involved in local government and stay involved, they'll naturally be educated on it, and it makes it much easier for us to work with them than work for them.
I used to come to Los Angeles a lot more than I do, but I've been there from time to time. I'm coming to El Segundo. Where are you going to take me to get a quintessential El Segundo lunch, dinner?
That is
something.
Easy. Wendy's Diner. It's been there for a million years.
Not the chain Wendy's.
No, not the chain Wendy's. Our Wendy's is amazing. And so, it's Pat, you'll meet everybody from a massively successful entrepreneur to a professional athlete to an astronaut to whatever, all sitting there having, chicken fried steak in a place that's probably got about 7 tables and is tucked into our main street. It is great. It's great.
Wendy's Diner in El Segundo.
Wendy's Diner in El Segundo. You got to be there before 2. Closes at 2.
It closes at 2. What's your standing order?
The linguiça. I always get the linguiça. Linguiça with egg sunny side up.
All right. That's the place. What do you do for fun?
Actually, the thing that the deepest secret about local politics, deepest secret of it is that it's incredibly fun. It is just so much fun. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is always neat problems to solve. You have broad latitude to correct your mistakes because it's happening locally. It's just a whole lot of fun. It's just fun. You get to meet people all the time who do interesting things. And in El Segundo, with the same former dance studio, launched Beyond Meat, launched Pico Grid, puts things in space. It's the same. You're meeting these fascinating people who do different things in these strange corners of your town. It's really fun.
You are the first mayor who's ever said, what do you do for fun? Be the mayor.
It's fun. I love it. I'm not going to lie. It's great.
So this is the Good Government Show, and we always bring it back to good government. Give me an example of a good government project that you're excited about in your city.
I'm going to give you a really small project that shows, I think, really good governance. When the LA Times moved to El Segundo, there's a gentleman who bought a dry cleaner. Or bought a storefront to put a dry cleaner in right by it.
Okay.
We think it's great that we've got the LA Times come in. This gentleman shows up at city council, says, I bought a dry cleaner. I put in all this equipment. It's not zoned. I have the wastewater permits, but I can't operate here legally. And this is on a Tuesday. The city council thinks, well, this is great. We've got an amenity for a large new customer here, the LA Times. How can we fix this? City attorney, what does it take to permit in a dry cleaner in here? He says, I need 72. You could enter a zone change now. We have 72 hours before it could take effect at the soonest. So we do it on Tuesday. Yep. We all get together for breakfast on Friday morning, bang the gavel. LA Times is a dry cleaner because it made sense and it was super responsive, fast, legal, compliant, environmentally sound governance, and it happened that quickly. It was thrilled. That's the way it should work. The guy was happy. It was great.
That is good government in action. Fast.
Yeah, let's have a Friday morning. We'll have eggs, coffee, and change a zone.
Please tell me you went to the Wendy's Diner for this.
No, we have to do it in the chambers, unfortunately.
Too bad. All right. Chris Pimentel, the mayor of El Segundo, California. It was a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks for stopping by.
No, thank you for your time. This is great.
Want to hear more about good government? Check out another show I host, Leading Iowa, Good Government in Iowa Cities. I host the show with Brad Kavanaugh, mayor of Dubuque, Iowa, and the immediate past president of the Iowa League of Cities. Together, we talk to leaders in Iowa cities. We talk about what works and what good government looks like in Iowa. Join us right here where you're listening now. That's Leading Iowa, Good Government in Iowa Cities. It was called the War to End All Wars, but it didn't. 3 royal cousins, all kings, one from England, one from Germany, and one from Russia, blundered their way into a war, a completely avoidable war that left millions dead in the trenches across Europe. Good Government Show executive producer Jim Ludlow details the blunders, mistakes, and bluster that started World War I that didn't end all wars. The book, The Royal Cousins, details the events and creates an alternative history. Imagine if World War I never happened. It didn't have to. Just read it yourself. Download the book today on Amazon. It's just 99 cents and a timely look at history. Now, this is the kind of person you want running a city. El Segundo Mayor Chris Pimentel clearly loves his job. And here's something he said that stood out for me. Don't fall in love with your plan. To me, that means create a plan, work it, but be flexible enough to change as circumstances change. That's a good way to manage. In my ongoing coverage of trees in America, good to hear he has a plan for planting more native trees. So next time you fly to Los Angeles, check out the Shack or make its breakfast at Wendy's Diner. Look for the mayor. Well, that's our show. Thanks for listening. Please like us and share us with your friends and review us right here where you're listening. And check out our website, goodgovernmentshow.com, for extras. Help us keep telling stories of good government in action everywhere. Join us again for another episode right here. I'm Dave Martin, and this is The Good Government Show. The Good Government Show is produced by the Good Government Institute, a nonprofit organization promoting civic engagement and civic education. All donations to the show help promote trust in government. You can donate at goodgovinstitute.org. That's goodgovinstitute.org. Executive producers are Jim Ludlow, Dave Martin, that's me, and David Snyder. Jason Stershik is our editor and producer. Join us again to hear good stories about our government right here on The Good Government Show.
This podcast is part of the Democracy Group.